Good evening, everyone. It's a brain in a vat again. Welcome back to the tropics, where it is a bit gray and overcast. Rained a bit earlier, but seems calm now. I have a cocktail. I hope you're having a nice evening or morning, whatever your time zone. Um, Hello, Insightful. Hello, Andrea. Hello, Melody. Wicked Stitches, Sammy, and Data Funk. We'll wait for a bit till everybody comes in. Yes, I have my toga on, as usual, and my 70s disco DJ headphones. Hi, Pack. Hi, Amelia. As I told you, I have my modern headphones here, but they're not long enough. So, whatever. Hello, Elise, Christina. So, today is going to be one of those days where I take no joy in talking with you, but I think it's important, and I'm going to try to make a case for why it's important and try to give you a bit of a background for those of you who might not be up to speed on history and why I'm having this conversation. Hello, Mrs. Kravitz, Revival, Tack. You wear it well, thank you. Veritas, send you love. Hope you and your daughter are well. So today is the story of Derpy Josh. So why do I call him Derpy Josh? Well, we had a little run-in on my channel back in the day, and he said something which I thought was a bit foolish, and I've learned the hard way on social media that sometimes saying what you'd like to say can result in a short-term ban. And so my way of overcoming that little problem is to simply use a funny little word, which I've learned on the internet the last few years, which is just to say derp. I mean, it's hardly very offensive. I mean, how bad is it to say derp, right? But Josh, he didn't like it, and he got all angry, and he thought this was some old-fashioned word. Well, I'd never heard it when I was a kid, so I only know it in the modern internet vernacular, social media vernacular. So he didn't like it. He got greatly offended by the word, so it stuck. So, you know me, I like to give little nicknames to everyone. Phish McDonish, and Thug Mutton, and Miffany Tari, and Tumbleweed, Muffin Boy, and Derpy Josh. And I'm sure I have some more, but I can't remember them. So, I'm not sure how this will all play out, so I'll try to do the best I can. So I'm going to try to explain a bit. I want to address a couple of things that I've already probably discussed ad nauseum. So maybe let's start with the kumbaya, live and let live, what I might call radical tolerance or moral relativism, as I began discussing the other day with Dr. T. It's this rather lovely utopian notion that we should all be good to each other, and we shouldn't criticize each other, and we should be tolerant of alternative views and respectful of the right to an opinion, and try to get along. In the words of Rodney King, why can't we just all get along? Well, I think if you share my humanist values, you will agree that I long for the day where we arrive at that kumbaya party and everybody knows how to behave and everybody was respectful and no one tries to gratuitously harm anyone, and in probably most of your lives, and certainly in my private life, most of my interaction with human beings is very much according to those principles. The problem is that we live in a world where not everyone behaves. Because if everyone behaved, we wouldn't need a legal system. We wouldn't need prisons. Um, but we, but everybody doesn't behave, and unfortunately, the consequence can be extremely dangerous. Bad behavior can lead to horrific outcomes. I mean, heck, we're in the true crime space. We're supposed to be hating on bad guys and protecting victims. We're supposed to be trying to minimize harm and protect victims. We're supposed to be victim advocates, and we want to get the bad guy because we care about justice. And most of us believe in strong retribution when it comes to extremely harmless and dangerous behavior. But we're also supposed to be against psychological abuse. We're supposed to be advocates for victims of not only physical violence, but also emotional and psychological abuse. And yet, in this putrid true crime ghetto space, it is far too often those who purport to be victim advocates, who purport to be wanting to get the bad guys, who are the bad guys. And they are the ones creating victims, many times out of thin air, out of whole cloth. And they're very often re victimizing and re traumatizing already existing victims, very often in the very cases that they purport to care about and cover. Hello, Delighted. Hello, Edie, and anybody else I missed. So, this relativistic notion that we shouldn't go after channel creators and we should all get along, and all that I'm engaging in is just this sort of petty, trivial, he said, she said, interpersonal squabbles, and simply getting my kicks out of criticizing people who really, are just giving their opinion and aren't doing anything bad. Well, I take issue with that position. Um, I have a fairly strict criterion for who I go after, um, and who I criticize, and the sorts of things that I do criticize. Hey, Fraud Squad, how you doing tonight? So I don't simply uh, find people who are wrong on the internet. Hey, did you just forget to say thank you? Well, that's rude. I'm going to make a 3-hour video on you and try to discredit you and use shame and ridicule and mockery because you made the mistake of not saying thank you. Or you got a fact wrong. Mom, someone on the internet is wrong. I can't go to bed right now. I need to make a video and correct someone. And I almost never get to sleep because there's always someone wrong on the internet. Well, that's not what I'm trying to do here. I am very selective about the people that I criticize. And I'm going to try to make the case tonight. Sorry, I have to remove someone from the room. In case you didn't know who just made their appearance. Oh, by the way, before I get started, to the mods this evening, please run maybe a tighter ship than normal. I expect a bit of fallout. Schmelos, are you making fun of me or the other guy? Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let me continue before I lose my train of thought. So again, I don't. This is not simply going after trivial he said, she said, interpersonal disputes. Um, so I want to explain again what the role of a scientific skeptic is, what I've been writing about for the last 10 years, and what scientific skeptics do. I don't tend to like labels, but there is a thing, a philosophical position called scientific skepticism, which I've described at length, and we tend to perform certain roles in the world. And so, since I came to YouTube for a particular reason, as many of you know, a lot of you probably won't. Hello, your crotch, Eden Knight. Funniest name. It's really hard to keep a straight face when I say that name. But anyway, I don't want to lose my train of thought. Um, so when I first came to YouTube, as any of you who followed my work from the beginning know, was to go after a singular bad actor who I had noticed from the outside of YouTube and decided to come utilize my channel and my voice to challenge what I thought was extremely disturbing behavior on the part of this ex-super cop, who I fondly refer to as Phish McDonish, and his crew. And I came across his crew um, as part of my little exercise in trying to put together an argument and a case against Mr. McDonish. So, since then, a lot of people appreciated what I had done in that particular case, and then going after other bad actors doing similar things in that space. In fact, I'm pretty sure I coined the true crime bad actors and the true crime ghetto to differentiate it from the quality and legitimate channels in true crime who treat these delicate topics with the competence, professionalism, and ethics that it deserves. Hello, Nicolina, Tiffany, Mingreed, welcome. So after I sort of, made a case against the initial person I came to criticize for a lot of very atrocious behavior, a lot of people began contacting me. I, for whatever reason, became a go-to person to contact for people who had grievances against the channel creator, or for people who wanted me to take the case of a particularly uh, egregious, dangerous true crime in scare quotes true crime channel, and I've been very, very selective. As a skeptic, I'm very leery of people who contact me privately. If they want to be my friend, I'm very selective. This is a rather dangerous spot, and the stuff I do here, I have to be a bit careful. So I'm highly selective. I have very few friends in this space. On my Facebook forum, I'm also selective, but it's a bit of a different exercise that I perform there. But it's not like we do any less provocative work over there. As science educators, science and philosophy educators, we deal with provocative topics all the time that trigger people and make people crazy and result in very strong emotional reactions. So anyway, the point of that is to say that I'm very selective about my criteria when people come to me and want me to go after someone, for lack of a better expression. And I get a lot of scorned internet lovers. I get a lot of he said, she says. I get a lot of, simply screenshots of people suggesting that something is really bad. And it really has to meet a high bar for me to want to cover it. First of all, as I always say, I don't go after low-hanging fruit. I prefer to go after the most consequential, most dangerous behavior, because that is the behavior that, these are larger channels. They tend to be, unfortunately, treated as role models, and other monkeys imitate them. And so if you can, cut off the head of the snake, you can have a better effect, and effect more change and there's simply too many small players in this space to go after, the thousand. I have thought about for fun doing like a once a month tour of, here's 30 horrific tiny true crime channels just spewing absolutely inane, incoherent rubbish. It could be fun, and maybe I'll do that, but it's not very consequential. Um, I followed almost all creators, but Josh at the lab, I couldn't bring myself to waste time on such empty, passionless rhetoric. Now I know plagiarism. Yeah, I'll get to that, and excuse me if I take a bit of time. Always, I try to be fair and situate this stuff before I get going. So I already have had a few people just announcing this, saying, "Okay, I'm done with you." Sort of, you should have better things to do with your time. This sort of, again, this kumbaya. This is just negativity. You get your kicks criticizing people. And again, this is back to this moral relativism. When you look at the people that I go after, and you look at the claims that they're making, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, there's a difference between somebody saying, forgetting to say thank you, and somebody gratuitously in front of massive audiences, impressionable audiences, that innocent people are murderers, child traffickers, and pedophiles. If you don't think that's a problem, you clearly have not been gone after on social media. You've clearly not had your lives doxxed. You've clearly not had lynch mobs show up at your house. You've not gotten massive quantities of death threats. I mean, these people all know that these things are wrong. I mean, we all agree on what is wrong, right and wrong, when we're talking about these true crime channels, apparently. But then when these people that purport to be, again, going after the bad guys, are in turn doing some pretty horrific things, not respecting the presumption of innocence, not respecting due process, not respecting defamation law, and all in the name of the right to an opinion, and this absurd extremist view of free speech and fair expression. And we all know these things are wrong when they happen to us. We all know these things are wrong when they happen to people you love. And yet, when we're criticizing them, suddenly this is just trivial content. This is just, a sort of opportunism on my part to think that it's value added to criticize falsely accusing people of murder and the worst, most heinous crime of harming children, and to millions and millions of people who become mobilized. It's this is an upside down space. It's a very odd, surreal space. It's like a Picasso painting in here. This is allegedly a true crime space where we should share a lot of common values when it comes to what is really obvious harmful behavior. But as I've discussed in other videos, humans aren't rational, at least not in an intellectual sense. You can only understand human behavior if you understand a bit about evolutionary biology and our nature as a social animal that is, really interested just in getting its genes into the next generation. It's more about tribalism. It's more about personal identity. It's more about how people feel. They're just simply really not driven very consistently by reason and evidence. So to appeal to humans, you need to understand how they tick. Hi, Nikki. Catch you on the replay. So again, that was just to quickly address these silly arguments that going after Ryan Upchurch is petty or trivial or we shouldn't do it. I mean, if we shouldn't criticize that horrific behavior, I don't want to live in the world that these people would create for ourselves, because it would be a nightmare. It would be a vigilante anarchist utopia. Who are we not to criticize this bad behavior? I mean, if we want to live in that utopian world where we sing kumbaya and everyone is nice and considerate to each other, we need to crowd out this bad acting. I mean, it's important to differentiate between humans, people, and ideas and their beliefs. People are mostly good, generally speaking, and even a lot of very bad behavior is quite explicable, and we can have compassion for the bad behavior, or for the person, and we can try to help them if we're so inclined, and we want them to get better. So even my video tonight on Josh, it is in the hope that he learns a lesson and that he becomes a better person. I don't think he's a horrible person, but I think he's doing and has done terrible things that are really, really harmful. And that's why I'm putting myself out there this evening to go over that. So now let me explain a bit, which hopefully has been clear before. I've tried to explain it. I have a whole video on my introduction and what I do, what scientific skepticism is. So scientific skeptics, we are science educators. We debunk bad science, and we part of our role is as consumer advocate. So because we evaluate truth claims for sound and consistent internal reasoning and coherence and all of the critical thinking tests to see if claims hold up under scrutiny, and also based on science and the best available evidence, um, we then recognize all of the bad information out there, all of the snake oil salesmen and the false advertising and the misinformation and all of the people who profit on the back of bad information. They are selling snake oil, whether they're selling empty bottles of nothing and claiming it's homeopathy and it cures all sorts of ailments or all sorts of other alternative medicine, or they're selling MMS treatment to poor parents who are believe that their autistic children are in some way defective and that they can cure them by appealing to all sorts of snake oil, like a horrible treatment like MMS, where they essentially expose their children to bleach therapy and then pull out, hoping to purge them of their autism, like some sort of prehistoric uh, devil possession ritual, and then remove entrails and pieces of intestine from these children, claiming that they're curing them of autism. It's nothing short of torture. This is child abuse. They are torturing children because they're appealing to a pseudoscience, bullshit alternative medicine thing, and people are making tons of money off it. You can go look up MMS. I warn you, don't look at the images. And just a host of a million bad truth claims that people make tons of money on the internet, and also forms of just false advertising. I can barely get through any YouTube. Sexy shirt, Skip. Stop it. Stop it. You're distracting me. I can barely watch a YouTube ad uh, because they're almost all false advertising. They're all making claims that they can grow your teeth back and grow your gums back and grow your hair back and make your penis longer and make it bigger and make your brain work better and make you live longer. And it's all bull. It's all over the counter. None of it is holds up well under scrutiny. Under scientific scrutiny, they all use the same tactics. They appeal to testimonials and some singular bad clinical trial that has a sampling error and it's very small and it was published in some no-name article, and then that's how it doesn't have to pass through the rigor of scientific scrutiny and get actually go through a 10-year process of clinical trials and regulatory boards before it can get released and call it medicine. As Tim Minchin says, the difference between You know, um, you know what we call alternative medicine that has been proven to work? Medicine. Um, so as a as critical thinker, sorry, as scientific skeptics, essential oils, of course, MLM, Ponzi schemes, we could go on and on and on. That's what our bread and butter. I mean, if any of you know, um, you know, what's the old guard who just died, who had the $1 million. My brain's not working suddenly. Who had the $1 million prize for anyone that could, bring a superstitious or pseudoscience claim forward and show that it works under controlled conditions. James Randi. So James Randi just died. I think he was almost 100, and he is famous for having gone, for having, you know, exposed like televangelists and people and faith healers and the famous one Uri Geller, the spoon bender, and he's gone up on stage and drank bottles of homeopathy to show that their homeopathy is literally nothing. I mean, by definition, it's nothing. So that's what we do as scientific skeptics. So the reason that I'm here is because I handle things just like the frauds that are pervasive in the true crime space. These are the same snake oil salesmen that we deal with all over the place. And because I care about moral philosophy, I'm also a humanist and I teach philosophy. I care about the well being of sentient beings. My central tenet is that what we're trying to do here is create a world where more people more of the time experience more flourishing, and that good ideas thrive, our best ideas thrive, and our worst ideas perish, and they get thrown on the heap with all of the other horrible ideas that humans have had rattle around in their brain for the last 5, 10, 20,000 years, however long you want to go back in time. So, me being here to discuss the true crime bad actors is simply part and parcel of what scientific skepticism does. All of these people, they use all the same tactics, all the logical fallacies that I try to educate you guys on in my other videos. We're all subject to all of these cognitive biases. Our brains are not our friends when we aspire to be more rational and better critical thinkers. If you want to become a better critical thinker, read until you bleed, but from good sources. Learn your formal logic, learn your logical fallacies, understand the cognitive biases that you've evolved to have. You are going to tend towards agreeing with certain ideas that are in your self-interest. You're going to tend to agree with people who are in your tribe, who you consider in group, and you're going to tend to disagree and discount and ignore people that you consider out group or in another tribe, or beliefs that already do not satisfy your understanding of how the universe works. Just straightforward confirmation bias and tribalism. So when I came here to go after Chris McDonough, it's because he's the typical used car salesman using all of these typical tactics to get one over on you in order to promote his interests, in order to get the charity money and to get the donations and to be a superstar up there because he's a retired cop and he needed a second career, and so he went from a ex-cop, I argue a bad cop, and I think hopefully I've already made the case that he's a dirty cop. But now he's not even pretending to be a ex-cop. Now he's just a used car salesman. Now he's just selling you appeals to emotion and virtue signaling, and convincing you that he's the super sleuth who's cares about missing children, and he's just another snake oil salesman. And I have him now, Chris McDonough, on victimizing 9 families, and these are the only things I know about, but 9 families. And I've made the videos with the evidence, whether it's the Michael Crow case and the 3 boys he was sued back to the Stone Age for having violated their civil rights, which was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States. And the judge that was ruling over that case referred to it as psychological torture and the worst thing he'd ever seen in police interrogation in his career. And these guys, McDonough and his crew, his sycophants, his little, you know, internet hitmen like Doug Hutton and Tiffany Marie and Joshin from the lab, just Joshin, or Derpy Josh, they all go out and do his dirty work. And he uses them to go fight his internet wars, and they ride on the coattails of his large channel and his street cred as an ex-cop in order to grow their audience. And this happens all the time. So again, as a scientific skeptic, me criticizing these true crime bad actors is just part and parcel of consumer advocacy. And victim advocacy is I mean, ultimately consumer advocacy and victim advocacy are the same thing. I don't want you guys getting duped. I don't want to get duped. I don't want innocent people being victimized. I don't want to see innocent people getting their money, giving charity to immoral snake oil salesman scumbags who are just being dishonest. They're just appealing to your susceptibilities. They're just playing on your cognitive biases that most people don't understand. And then they start belonging to these tribes, and then they'll defend them at all costs. And anybody who's a critic is a troll or a hater, or jealous or clout chasing, and they're not susceptible to reasoning. The old line: it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. So we know just from research that once somebody's fooled and they're indoctrinated, once they're in the tribe, they will defend the tribe to the death, and it's very hard to extricate these bad ideas and convince them that they've been fooled. They're getting all these benefits. They're getting all the oxytocin, rush of being part of a club and feeling like they're in the in-group and that they're fighting the good fights out there on the streets, and they're saving victims and going after child sex trafficking rings and getting the bad guys and all that. So, to those critics who simply say that I get my kicks going after people, and it's just whatever, me trying to promote myself, or because I think I'm the big brain or something. Again, for anyone that knows what my logo means, it's not me projecting myself as being hyper intelligent. It's about the brain of Vat, which is an old philosophical thought experiment, which is all about epistemic humility, which is all about being careful about the things you claim to know and recognizing the limitations of your knowledge. Being able to say you're wrong, being able to say that you don't know when you don't have evidence, and not, getting over your skis. So anyway, that was just to sort of speak to the naysayers out there who don't understand why we should go after, community leaders and people with large communities of loyal fans who are highly impressionable, dare I say, cults and cult followers, or at least behavior that sure looks a lot like cult behavior, uh, saying horrific things without any concern for the burden of proof or any concern for the presumption of innocence or any of our standard moral rules. I mean, if you want to get to the kumbaya finish line, we should be able to agree that when somebody disagrees with you, or you're trying to promote your brand, that you don't just say, "Hey, everybody, see that person? That's the Frankenstein monster. They're a pedophile. Go get them, burn them. Yeah, come on, lynch mob, grab your torches. Let's go get them." I mean, that's what we have in the space. We just have I think the vast majority of the channels are not value added, and the worst of them are very, very harmful. They risk doing damage to ongoing cases. They contribute to a community that already suffers from a high degree of mental illness and anxiety and PTSD. and already has a community of actual victims. Um, and it's just, again, that's why I came here, was to help you guys become more finely tuned and calibrated as it comes to evaluating who we want to support in this space. Because if you're reinforcing bad behavior, if you're giving your hard-earned money to these people, you're reinforcing behavior, and we're helping make that the standard by which others will compare themselves and will aspire to imitate. And if we, do not promote the good, competent, ethical, honest, professional channels, they will fall by the wayside and the trash will ascend. So we need to, make them fall away and to not enable and support and reinforce that behavior. It's not fair to the individuals either. So to all these true crime channels, this is for many of them the first time in their lives that anybody has ever listened to them, let alone hundreds of and thousands of doting followers and groupies who hang on their every word and tell them how wonderful they are and tell them what. For many of these people, most of them are not highly educated. They're not professionals. They don't have any competence in these skills, and a lot of them, for them, it's the first time in their life that anybody ever took them seriously. And so it's a lot to ask of them that they can remain humble with this newfound power, with this new platform. And they're getting money thrown at them, and people are claiming that they're doing God's work. So it's a lot of pressure on them too. I mean, we need to, obviously, again, promote the best of the best, so that the cream rises to the top, and the bad guys ultimately find something new to do, because there's just not enough personal interest in it. If they can't make more than 32 cents a month up there, waxing poetic and giving their opinion on stuff, they'll find something else to do. And then, as I've said to you guys, if you treat this stuff as fiction and you enjoy the reality show that you're watching, this online clue game, this big QAnon mystery cult where everybody feels like they're participating in discovering the mysteries of the universe, and they go on Google and say, "What's that? What's that? Wow, I see a pattern. Whoa, I'm in the game. I'm helping solve cases. Yeah, I'm super sleuth. I'm Sherlock Holmes." And let's go get the bad guys. Yeah, we're on the right pathway. We're righteous. We're gonna make the world a better place. No, that's not what's happening. So if you enjoy it as fiction, you understand it as fiction, and you just enjoy the reality show, the drama, then by all means. But if you take it seriously, if you if you deeply feel hurt and bothered by all of the stress and the anxiety and the infighting and the lying and the misinformation and the cult-like behavior, please find something else to do. There are lovely things to do in this life. Go pet your cat, take a walk, plant some flowers in your kitchen window, go, take a class at night, go hang out with your friends. But this space, as I've said, is really putrid. It's easy to get addicted. I got stuck. I came in here, and after a couple months, I felt like I had to keep up with the stories, and I felt obliged, and I got my legs were sinking into the quicksand of the true crime ghetto drama. I know what it feels like. I've been there. I extricated myself for 4 months. It took a while. Found other things to do. I stopped. I kept removing all the YouTube recommendations that had anything to do with true crime, and I no longer watch any true crime channels. I don't follow any. Well, I never followed any true crime channels, but YouTube would recommend stuff, people would send stuff, and then I'd get caught up, and I felt like I needed to know what the players were saying and keep up to date with the facts, and now I don't do that. So I got dragged back in 4 months later to look at this Upchurch, because he's now taken the throne from Chris McDonough because of the scale of his influence and the horrific things he's doing. But he's playing the same exact rules. They all use the same rules. I mean, I made a video I don't know, a couple weeks ago or whatever, where I just sort of gave the typical tactics that all of these snake oil people use. And that's why I said in scientific skepticism, that's what we do is we evaluate these sorts of bad claims, and we notice patterns, and we try to teach people to look for these patterns. This is not different. The same tactics used in the true crime ghetto are used everywhere. They're used in marketing, they're used in interpersonal conversations, just in disputes where people, appeal to all these um, bad arguments to confuse you, to make you unsure of what to say and what to believe and who to trust and what to think. So yeah, so I tried to extricate myself for 4 months, and it didn't work because somebody contacted me and told me to take a look at this muffin boy. And now I'm done. I'm already bored. He's not going to change, just like with Chris McDonough the first time. I'm not going to watch Chris McDonough every day. He's boring, and he's using the same tactics. It's just a question of time. So, you know, I try to do a little case study, an analysis to look at their techniques and their tactics, and I try to make a case that these are not honest actors. And then, you know, you guys take it or leave it, and I'm not going to police this ridiculous place. I got better things to do, and the last thing I want to do is start keeping a long list of all the bad actors and all the hundreds of new ones that come on every day, and then try to keep up with all the bullshit they say every day. They'll Every day it's going to be the same bullshit. Different content, same bullshit all the time. Same thing with Upchurch. I watched him for whatever is 2 3 weeks of videos, and now he's got a new chapter of his fiction drama book every day, and it's not changing. I mean, and we're not necessarily going to win. The only way that we're going to win is if enough of you unite and somehow discredit him and his tribal army, or YouTube does what it should do, which is frickin' take the goddamn page down for breaking the terms of service. And no, you dum-dums, that is not censorship. It is not infringing on his free speech. He's breaking the law. You can't defame people, uh, even in the public, and you certainly can't defame people and harass them and spread misinformation on YouTube. It's right there in the terms of service. The fact that they're not enforcing it means that unless we all unite in millions and millions and millions, and we're out there all day long refuting each and every one of the claims, and we're challenging all of the cult members all day long, maybe we could somehow convince them with just a massive weight of more millions than he's got. Maybe that could do something. But I have no expectation that you can stop this guy with arguments and reason. Um, Hopefully he gets bored, but if we're lucky, YouTube will actually do something because he's making money hand over fist, and he's in everybody's mouth right now. And then there's people profiting on the back of him being in everybody's mouth. So that becomes then a cottage industry too, where everybody gets up every morning that's against Upchurch, and they just make a new Upchurch video, and then they also get attention from the people that don't like Upchurch. It's just this cycle, and this is a cottage industry. As long as there's money here, you'll have people on both sides of every argument, and you'll have the ambitious people trying to make content as quickly as possible and get their content in before the other one, and then try to get as many followers and as many super chats and make a living. And you can't stop this stuff. So I'm going to take a bit of a break, because then we're going to get to the damn story, which is Derpy Josh and what has happened here and why I'm having this live stream. But I'm going to take a little break and light a smoke, because I'm a bad boy. The other day somebody said, "Who are you? Why should I listen to you? Why are you wearing a tank top? And why do you smoke?" And it's hot. It's in the tropics. My AC's broken. And I'm a bad boy because I started smoking again. And it's a terrible habit, kids. Don't do it. I'll quit soon. And then the other question was, what was my qualifications? And I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm tired of saying it. Doesn't matter. My arguments are either valid or they're not. You take it or you leave it. If you got something to challenge me on, at least represent my arguments. Otherwise, have a nice day. Yeah, Andrea, please unsubscribe. Well, no, don't you dare unsubscribe. I'd miss you. Hello, Crocheting, and Barbara and Patricia. And so I'm going to take a little tiny break. Tell them to F off. Yeah. So, let me see where I want to go from here. Okay. So, I want to be careful for a few reasons. Well, hello, Platty. I'll come back after the doctor. Love you, Skep. Love you too, Platty. Please feel better. I wanted to have you up here tonight, but if you're not feeling well, you go take care of yourself, and we will talk later. Yeah, Smokey. I have to answer it all the time, but I don't have a clip for my lavalier mic, and my cam mic was not good enough, so I found this in my drawer, and I just have a little stupid thing that clicks on, so I'm sorry if I look stupid. People make fun of me and say it looks like a toga, but sorry. Makeshift lavalier clip. At this point, it is a statement piece. So I want to be careful tonight. I don't want to engage in making claims that I can't support. I'm not going to resort to he said, she said arguments. I'm going to try to make the case for why it's relevant, and it's essentially revisiting one of my earliest bad actors. So, on the delicate side of things, I was contacted a couple weeks ago by somebody who had some grievances and some evidence on a particular individual and asked for some advice, and we had a discussion, and before I go further, like I said, I get contacted like that all the time. Matter of fact, in the case of Doug Hutton had exact same sorts of victims. These little online affairs gone wrong, somebody is hurt, he mistreated them, he was unfair, they were upset, and were hoping that I could come defend them and call him out. And in almost all of those cases, I just didn't have sufficient evidence, and it wasn't a case that I could take on. But sadly, you know, talking to these people and listening to their stories, I was very inclined to believe them. I found them quite compelling. It's very consistent with the behavior of someone like a Doug Hutton. But I simply was not going to take these things on because the evidence was was weak. So I reject most of the cases. People, go after that channel, they're bad. Go after that channel, they're bad. Go after that person, look what they did to me. Go after that person, look what they did to me. And so I'm very careful. I'm not here to settle interpersonal disputes. I'm not a relationship counselor. Um, you know, if you have something that is just incredibly harmful and dangerous and bordering on illegal, and it has an influence on a large amount of people, that's something I'm more likely to take on. But even if I'm sad and I think somebody has been victimized, I don't have the bandwidth, nor do I think I can be effective by just addressing every interpersonal grievance. But this case was different, and it came from somebody who was one of my earliest bad actors. And before I go further, I tried to help Josh once. When I first saw Josh, I thought he was actually not a bad storyteller. I think his shtick, that Howard Stern wannabe, as I call him, that sort of dark room, late night, talk show guy sort of thing. I don't think he's bad at that. I think he's a pretty good actor. Um, I think actually, yeah, that is the skill that I would attribute to him. He's not a horrible storyteller, and he's not a bad actor. He's able to emulate, the passionate highs where he's strong and assertive, and then that even soft, self-deprecating lows, and exhibit sadness and the odd cry from time to time. He's not a bad actor. He's not a bad storyteller, and if he tells a decent story, I think he could be an okay YouTuber for that sort of a thing. Um, but he's not what he purports to be. A documentarian and writing original content. These things are simply untrue. Um, and I'll get into the details of that. But I tried to help him. So I was present. I was watching Chris McDonough's every move on the Nomadic Trek case. I knew it was disturbing. It was building up to a crescendo, and I was watching it in real time going, what he's doing is just straight up wrong. This is defamation to the highest degree. He was claiming an anonymous, innocent person, random person on the internet was Brian Laundrie, the most wanted person in America. And he was claiming that the three-letter agencies were coming to get him, and he had found the clue in the noise that nobody else knew, and he knew where Brian Laundrie was. And I was watching it; it was disturbing. And he got his page, ultimately, his channel removed. It was gone. His channel, there was just a big message that said, this channel doesn't exist anymore. And he, after the fact, appealed, negotiated, agreed to take all those videos down, which means that none of you can go back and see those videos anymore, because what he engaged in broke the terms of service and was so egregious that ultimately they removed all of his content, and he came back a bit, what's the word, whatever, shy and a bit, watching himself for a few days, and now he's back to his old tricks. Again, so much for rehabilitation or him learning his lesson. So, as part of that exercise, obviously, I noticed the addition of his two little, weasel hitmen, Doug Hutton and Derpy Josh, and Doug Hutton, career criminal, con artist, agitator, ambulance chaser, um, idiot, was more than happy to ride the coattails of McDonough, and these people were dumb and ambitious enough to be perfect, uh, you know, useful idiots for Mr. McDonough. And I mean, the irony is that if you know anything about McDonough wouldn't be caught dead with those two clowns. You would think they were below him. They were peons. They're useful idiots for him. He pats them on the head and says, "Hey, everybody, go hit the smash button to No Thanks Investigates and Tiffany Marie and AB and Josh," and they're like, drooling at the bit. Oh, getting love from Big Daddy and the ex-cop. So I noticed Josh, and I saw that Nomadic Trek case happening, and in real time, and the night where he got deleted, he did his victimhood tour, and he went on Tiffany Marie, and he went on Josh's channel, and they were more than happy to accompany the big super cop to grow their channels. And I saw it happening in real time, and I just arrived on YouTube. I'd never been into a chat room on YouTube, certainly never been up on panel. Matter of fact, back in the day, I was masked with my brain of vat, and I've decided finally to unmask and show my funny-looking, authentic self for all of you to feel free to make fun of. So I saw it happen, and I was willing and tried to reach out to Josh that night. I tried to get him in his community post, and I said, I'm seeing what's happening. Don't don't ally with Doug Hutton, don't ally with Chris McDonough. It's a bad move. You will be associated with them. You're getting used. These are bad actors. Don't do that. And I went to his chat and I said, Josh, I'd be willing to come up and talk to you on panel. Please don't do this. This is a mistake. And then I found myself in the dark alley in the enemy's lair and the dragon's lair. And then they all just jumped on me and called me a troll. And, I went, what the hell am I doing here? What the fuck was I thinking? This was a bad idea. And I left. And the rest is history. But I tried. I did try. And then I had a conversation with Josh and tried to make substantive arguments, tell him all of the things that he had said on his videos that were just demonstrably false and wrong and dangerous. All the lies that Chris McDonough was feeding into his brain. And he then just resorted to ad hominem because he wasn't capable of having an intellectual chat with me. And then I was an old man and I was a social justice warrior. I don't know where that came from. This is true crime. Aren't we about justice here? Aren't we all supposed to be justice warriors? This is not a community of woke, lefty, 20-year-old kids, talking about, I don't know, trans rights or other, progressive things. This is true crime. True crime is about justice. We are justice warriors. So calling me a social justice warrior because I care about the presumption of innocence and due process and burden of proof, and I don't like it when people are gratuitously accusing innocent people of murder, child trafficking, and porn on their computers that are lies without any evidence. Yeah, I'm a justice warrior. Yeah, how is that an insult? I thought that's what we're all doing here. So we got in a little internet brawl, and I actually saved those screenshots. I have them on my other computer, but it's not my style to drop a bunch of things. Say, see, I schooled you. You didn't have any argument. You're dumb. I beat you. So whatever. I have those somewhere. And then later, he challenged me to an online debate. And I went to his community post and I explained to him why I would never debate in his dragon's lair. As I explained the other day, I know enough about. I teach debate. I teach rhetoric. Anybody that knows anything knows that you don't debate. You don't engage in a knife fight in a dark alley on somebody's hostile turf. It doesn't matter if you have the arguments. They will use that platform to mock you and to ridicule you and cut you off and interrupt you. And it's not a forum for having an intellectual debate. It's just it's just the dragon's lair. Smart people know you don't walk into a dark alley for a knife fight on hostile turf. You'd need to agree to the terms of a debate. Everybody needs to be playing by the same rules. We'd need to meet first to talk about having good faith in a conversation. We'd have to discuss. We'd have to find a neutral ground. We'd have to have a proper moderator that would be fair, and we'd have to agree on the rules and agree on the topic. Somebody wants to agree to those terms, I'm willing to discuss having a proper debate, but I'm not jumping in a hostile chat room to get frickin' attacked, insulted, and cut off. That's not a debate. That's just a childhood scuffle with a bunch of bullies. So, where did I want to go from there? So, I had already, once he teamed up with Josh, I exposed him. I decided tonight I'm not going to pull up all my old videos where he, was just wrong on all accounts in the Nomadic Trek case. He defended Chris McDonough in the innocent accusation of an anonymous Twitter guy as Brian Laundrie. He never retracted that. He never apologized that. He defended McDonough to the death. He just simply said mistruth after mistruth on his videos Um, I could give you a bunch of examples. He claimed, well, everybody says, well, that maybe that guy could get killed. Well, don't come at me with that because we don't even know who Nomadic Trek is. We don't even know, don't come at me with that. How could he get killed? Well, Josh should have done some homework. The guy got doxxed. I mean, it's like, how long have you been on the internet, young man? Clever people can find people on the internet even if you're using an anonymous name. Anybody can be found by somebody with enough motivation and a bit of skills. They found him. They found his real name. And the irony was that he was an ex-retired cop. I mean, the irony of McDonough going after an ex-cop. I mean, you can't make this shit up. He got doxxed. They found his address. They got his telephone number. They found out the department that he worked for in the police department, which meant that any of the people that he had put in jail when he was a cop could have found out where he was and tried to get retribution and revenge on him from him having done his job as a cop in the past. His family was worried about his family. He got packages at his door that could have been pipe bombs for all we know. He was actually became quite nervous. At the beginning, he just thought McDonough was a clown, and he tried to retaliate with his tiny little channel by saying, what the hell are you talking about, McDonough? I'm not Brian Laundrie. So they found him, and and he had thousands of death threats, and he still gets them to this very day. And McDonough never apologized, and he got his channel reduced for that, deleted for that. And Hutton and Josh died on that hill, and everything they said was wrong. Josh then said things like, "Well, I never heard McDonough say, that it was a fact. He simply said, I think it might be Brian Laundrie." Except that because Josh never does his homework, Chris McDonough had already made his confirmation video where he fabricated a screenshot with these frivolous, nebulous, cryptic links between a Twitter handle and a TripAdvisor handle of a guy who turned out to be we found was a Tasmanian tour guide who just happened to have a sub handle of Nomadic Trek, because Nomadic and Trek are not that unique. It's like, David Smith or something like that. And that's what this Ryan Upchurch does. That's what all these people do. They do this false pattern matching where they find a link, well, hey, that guy had a red shirt, and that person has a red shirt. Therefore, there's somehow. I mean, it's just this apophenia thing that I've described to you. So, if you want to go back and look at the videos that I did on the Nomadic Trek case, you'll see where I criticized Josh for being a bad actor and a liar. You can also go look at the apology video that Trisha made on Web Sleuths, and then Hutton and all of the clan and Josh, they all then badmouthed Trisha and lied to her because they had to defend their king and emperor, Phish McDonish, and they were so desperate to try to somehow save face and defend him that they had to, try to smear Trisha, who did nothing but recognize that she had allowed McDonough up on her stage to defame an innocent man, Jamie Wilson, and implicate him in Summer Wells' disappearance, which resulted in frickin' people doxing him, coming to his house, threatening him 100 meters from his front door with his wife and family and kids, and claiming that, he had Summer Wells in the house and they were coming to get him. And he, stayed up for 2 days and sat outside with his AR-15 and then was walking down the street, "Hey, motherfuckers, you get anywhere near my family and I'll fucking defend myself." So that's what he had to deal with because of Chris McDonough. They also then were discounting AK Rocks, who was a guy who Josh said, "Who's this AK Rocks guy? Get him out of my chat room. What an asshole. Just another troll, just another troll." Well, that AK Rocks was another victim of your man, Chris McDonough, because Chris McDonough accused him on It's a Crime on Linda's show, and Linda giggled like a little girl and didn't challenge him on any of the claims, where he again defamed an innocent person, AK Rocks, of having child porn and being, in the three-letter agencies, and he was tracking his IP, and, it was just a question of time before, he was in the golden bracelets or whatever the heck his line was, because I'm McDonough, the super cop. And then I got messages from his wife letting me know that she was no longer secure in her own home, and that she now keeps a bat next to her bed to protect her and her child and her young boy. And then when her husband's away from the home, she's afraid at night because that somebody's going to come and kill them. She can't, when she's driving late at night and somebody's following her and she sees the headlights in the rearview mirror, she drives out of her way to make sure that she waits until they turn off the road until she drives home because she's afraid she's being followed. If you people don't understand what it means to no longer feel safe in your home because of some asshole, arrogant piece of shit used car salesman is making shit up about you in order to promote his frickin' used car shop on YouTube to make money, wait until it happens to you. And then tell me how this is all trivial. None of this stuff matters. And it's perfectly okay. It's just a right to an opinion. By the way, all of you, everybody watching right now, I now accuse you all of murder, pedophilia, and child trafficking. And I'm going to use my 130,000 people on Facebook, and I'm going to go find pictures of you, and I'm going to get your profiles, and I'm going to post them in front of everybody. They respect me a lot. They trust me. They've been with me for 10 years. And I'm gonna tell them all to go find you. Actually, I don't even need to say anything. I'm just going to make the accusation, and then I'm going to put all the strange links about you guys and make little innuendos that you guys are all, have committed horrible crimes. And I don't need to tell them to go get you. They'll find you. They know what to do. They understand what I mean, just like they understand when Chris McDonough does it, just like they understand when Ryan Upchurch does it. They don't have to give explicit orders. It's just like the mafia. Hey, it'd be a shame if that guy, something happened to him driving to his kid to school tomorrow, at 7:30 from, it's the south side and getting on the I-25 like he always does every morning. It'd be a crying shame if that happened. And then his buddies in the room say, yes, boss, you know, and that's called plausible deniability. And we had the lawyer up the other day who said, sorry, if the meaning is clear, just like with Upchurch and claiming I never said anything about Zaname killing her dog, yeah, you insinuated it, and everybody in the room knew goddamn well what you were saying when you said, what weren't the cops talking about finding a grave of a dog, and there's Zaname with a dog, I'm not saying she killed her dog and buried it there, but I'm saying she killed her dog and buried it there, and everybody in the room know, oh yeah, she killed her dog and buried it there, and therefore she killed Kylie Rodney. And that's how these people work. They all use the same exact tactics. So if you want, you can go back and watch my videos. I think it's Bad Actors Series, AK Rocks. You can watch all of them if you want to see the other bad actors. Tiffany Marie is already back in action. I showed you the other night how she was. These people, they always back the perp. They never back the victims. They always back the perp. So Tiffany Marie, I have videos of her, backing Chris McDonough. Same exact case, the Nomadic Trek case, in one of my videos. The other night, doing the exact same thing, backing the perp, backing Ryan Upchurch, and suggesting that the person that Ryan had fingered was guilty or suspicious or done something. She has nothing to back that up. And what is she doing today? In the case I'm going to talk to you about, she's doing the exact same thing. She's backing up Josh and claiming that, the victim has ultimately, done something wrong. That's what these people do. They all play this game over and over and over again. And their gullible followers are no more the wiser. And they continue to support them. And then the news cycle moves so fast that in 3 or 4 days, everybody's moved on to the news story and they get away with it and people can't keep track. And if you just show up today, you don't know what the other thousands of things that they've done in the past. These people, this is the true crime putrid sausage that I tell you guys about all the time that gets made fresh every day. So, the other thing you could do is if you want to know what, go to Web Sleuths and look up the apology to Jamie Wilson and see what she did and the comments in the comment section. We discussed it, how I commended her because I was hoping to get the support from big channels who are willing to call out Chris McDonough because I'm a insignificant tiny channel Nobody wants to listen to me, so I needed support. I was hoping that the Mike Kings and the I don't know, the Harlows and the other whatever. I don't follow true crime, but whatever. I was hoping that self-respecting, legitimate true crime channels would recognize that having a big player in their space playing by these disgusting rules makes them look bad, and that they would be willing to have the courage to unite and say, no, we don't do that in this space. But very few people did. Gray Hughes did, and Web Sluice did, and Web Sluice did because she was informed I made a video which exposed that Chris McDonough accused Jamie Wilson on her show, and she didn't notice at the time. And then when it was brought to her attention from my video, she felt horrible, and she made a formal apology. And I have nothing but respect for what she was willing to do. She didn't need to do it. She could have just kept it quiet. She didn't need to go further and not only, address the Jamie Wilson event that occurred on her panel, but also went further and recognized that what he was doing in the Nomadic Trek case was also immoral and very dangerous. And she took a lot of risks to do that. And I have nothing but respect for her for having done that. And she got a lot of fallout. But good for her. We need more people with some courage in the space and bigger channels than me. I'm not even a true crime channel. I'm a tiny channel. So the other thing, if you want to look back in the past, you can also see my video on how both Doug Hutton and Josh attempted to engage in legal revisionism by trying to um, uh, exonerate Chris McDonough. I mean, they were clearly put up to it by McDonough. Both Hutton and Derpy Josh attempted. I mean, they're clearly not legal scholars. At least Derpy Josh can read a bit better. Doug Hutton can barely read, but they attempted to read legal documents and rulings in the Michael Crow case, and they got it all wrong. They didn't understand any of the law, and I sort of dissect their bad interpretation of the law and their dishonest interpretation of the law in the Michael Crow case. And they were essentially re-defaming the Michael Crow three, who were already found to have had their civil rights violated. And McDonough can't get over it, so he sent out his little stooges to try to exonerate him again and misrepresent the law and read from the wrong legal documents and focus on the wrong passages in the legal documents. Hutton never even read the right document. I mean, so if you want to go back, you can watch my video on Doug Hutton and Chris McDonough legal revisionism, where it was just a fail in the Crow case. And Josh also went up there and stumped for him and attempted the same damn thing. He got the law completely wrong, and he was, again, defaming these three boys who were psychologically tortured, in the words of the judge, by Chris McDonough and his colleagues, and were served a rather large punitive damages result in that case. And they still lie about it today. And then Josh also tried to engage in legal revisionism in the West Memphis 3 case as well. Now, I won't discuss that one because I'm less informed on that one. I did do my homework on the Michael Crow case. But from what I can see, Chris McDonough is guilty for having accused 3 innocent families, Jamie Wilson, A.K. Rocks, Nomadic Trek, of heinous crimes without any evidence, never apologized, and Doug Hutton and Josh all died on that hill. Never an apology, never an acknowledgement, never any sign of compassion for the fact that these 3 innocent people were doxxed, got death threats, and their security was in danger. And to this day, many of them still experience the same insecurity. And wow, I mean, I think you people really deserve to experience that for yourself before you think that that's simply trivial. And I'm simply engaging in, you know, going after somebody for some trivial event. No, that's rather serious, ladies and gentlemen. People can die from this shit. You know anything about ping pong, Comet Ping Pong, and QAnon, and all the other people that have been killed by online doxing and people going in real life. That's why I don't go in real life. So if you want to look back and understand why Josh got on my radar and was one of my earliest true crime bad actors, you can go back and look. The other one of my other favorite stories is Josh was so determined to try to debate me. He finally came to my channel and he got his 3 hour debate on my community post. And I addressed every one of his arguments. He said, you accused me of being a liar. And we showed him his own words. And he agreed. And he even apologized to Trisha. He knew he lied. So I give him that credit. But, he assumed that we were making false accusations against him and he conceded the point. But he got so schooled back to the Middle Ages on that 3 hour debate on my channel that day that he rage quit and dirty deleted all 3 hours of it. And he left up on his community post that I was too cowardly to debate him. After he got his debate and got schooled, and he knew he looked so bad and he was exposed so badly in all of his arguments that he dirty deleted 3 hours of comments. So that's not very courageous. Chicken shit. So yeah, that's the past. But he was clearly on my bad actors list and remains on my bad actors list to this day. But I haven't watched this guy in 6, 7 months. Boring. Why would I want to listen to him wax poetic and claim to be some sort of, I don't know, victim's advocate or documentarian or creator of original and unique content when now we know he's a serial plagiarist. So, but before I go there, so I got contacted by somebody, and this individual brought me evidence. And the evidence was pretty damning. Added a whole new list of bad acting on the part of Derpy Josh. And I talked with this person for a long time, extremely credible, internally consistent, far more intelligent than Derpy Josh will ever be. And I agreed to listen. I agreed to possibly help make content, but I always require several things if I am going to take on one of these situations. My first concern is that I don't mind taking the heat, but anybody that wants me to back them up, if they know that once the evidence comes out, everybody's going to know who it is, they need to convince me that they understand the costs. If you go after these people are like the mafia. These people are like criminals. You go after them, and they'll try to threaten you into silence. And they have numbers, and they'll discredit you. They'll dox you. They'll spin everything. They'll lie. They'll say and do anything to discredit you if you got the goods on them. I've seen it. It happens every single day, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too. Look at what Upchurch does. Anybody that's a critic, he just sends the Cretan squad after them. That's exactly what these people do, and they're all in on it. The Tiffany Maries and the ABs and the Doug Huttons and the Joshes and and a whole other cartoon character crew that many of you know and love, know fondly in this true crime ghetto. And they all repeat the same behavior. So if you do go after them, they will retaliate, and they'll use very unscrupulous means to try to discredit you. And they'll go in real life. They have no qualms about finding out where you live and putting your address. Apparently, the person, their address has already been released. It's already being spun. I've seen the yarn already being spun today. Josh is already, well, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So the case was brought to me. I looked at the evidence, and then I said, if you want my help, they're going to dox you. They're going to lie about you. They're going to go after you in real life. They're going to do anything they can to discredit you and make you look bad. And it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck, and you might even be afraid. And do not take this lightly. And I'm not going to do anything unless you understand that very clearly. I've seen it happen too many times. You have to convince me that you understand the risk, and then you have to decide if you really want to go through with it. I completely appreciate that. We'd like to call these people out, because this is the problem, people. If you don't call out bad guys, they get away with it. If you don't call out bad behavior, they won't change. If you don't challenge bad ideas persist. And again, these are not trivial problems. These are serious problems. So again, back to that moral relativism I was talking about at the beginning. If you think that these things are not important, if you can't tell the difference between what's right and wrong, if you don't mind living in a world where we just all accuse each other of being pedophiles all day long, and we all dox each other all day long, and we all have all our friends go find all of each other when they're walking, from their car in the middle of the night and break their legs, or worse, or just call their employers and get them fired and lie about them. If you want to live in that world, then enjoy your anarchism, enjoy your vigilantism. I'll have no part of it. Thank you very much. So I always make sure that somebody understands the risks, and then the other question I ask is, are you doing this out of revenge? Because I'm going to be very skeptical if you don't convince me this is not vindictive. This is not out of revenge. And obviously I can't get inside someone's brain, but I always ask these questions. I have to vet these people too. I have to make sure that I'm not being used. I have to make sure that the evidence isn't fabricated. I have to make sure that this is a legitimate case. I'm not going to get involved in he said, she said with simple screenshots that could be taken out of context and without a substantial amount of evidence and that I can corroborate. So I found the evidence quite compelling. And but at the end of the day, I chose that I didn't want to take the case on for reasons that I'm not going to share with you. And the evidence came out anyway. It has nothing to do with me, and I chose to not take on the case. But now the evidence is out. And we already had the evidence a couple weeks ago. And this is where, again, I don't have to engage in he said, she said to make my case, because Josh has already acknowledged it. He's already admitted it. So the first set of accusations dropped of him in an old podcast playing at shock jock, and just going on a racist tirade, a misogynistic tirade, an anti-Semitic tirade, disgusting, despicable content. And I was actually going to give him a tad bit of a break because he was playing at shock jock. But at the same time, even if I wanted to play at shock jock, those words would have never come out of my mouth. I wouldn't have ever said those things. But okay, it's a bit of drama. It's supposed to be a bit radical. Okay, but I wouldn't have made Auschwitz jokes like that about Jews. I wouldn't have been saying I would never fuck a fat chick. Because especially Mr. Joshy, I've seen pictures of you, and I'm pretty sure I know the reason we never see anything but a head on a desk. Pretty sure I know why you're reluctant to have the lights on, or show anything below your chin. And so the irony of saying you'd never fuck a fat chick is glaring. And you might want to take a full body shot sometime, show everybody who you really are in the light of day. And you might want to feel a bit of embarrassment. I think there are some reasons why Josh hides in the dark. I think there are reasons why Josh has to pretend to be somebody he's not. And I think it's sad. And talking with this person, we both have a lot of compassion. We feel bad. We think the guy is not secure enough to be who he is because he doesn't think anybody would like him if he shows who he really is. And that's sad. I feel for the guy. I hope he can get over that. I hope he finds a way to be loved for who he is and stops pretending to be somebody he's not. Because the guy doesn't do his homework. He's on the wrong side of every moral argument. His rhetorical skills, his argumentation skills, his logical skills are atrociously bad. And I'll show you a bit of that later on, although I've covered that in my video. So I don't need to engage in a he said, she said, because he's already apologized once that his own podcast was put out online, show all of this horrific language that he was using, the misogyny and the anti-Semitism and the anti-Asian racism, and he apologized. So he admitted it. So this is not a he said, she said. And he admitted it only because he got caught. And so he made a half-assed apology to his crowd. So he admitted the first accusation, which is that he'd engaged in overt racism a couple years ago. But, and he wouldn't have admitted it had he not got caught. But now he came out and he said, I shouldn't have done that. That's bad. Okay, good. But that's why we challenge bad ideas. People don't tend to have a, come to Jesus moment, unfortunately, until they get held accountable, until they have to pay consequences. Some people do. Some people recognize it on their own. But far too often, especially when you got a good gig and you're making money and you got everybody that loves you, coming forward with an admission of a mistake is hard to do. So I doubt very much that he was going to come forward and acknowledge that until he got caught. So I'm not engaging in a he said, she said, because he already admitted that that was his voice, and that he said those things, and that he shouldn't have, and that he made mistakes. And I'm not a perfect person, nobody is. Yeah, well, that's true, but people use that argument all the time. This is not a conversation about that there are perfect people. It's a conversation about behavior which we don't consider okay. We don't want to live in a world where people don't have to pay social consequences for making Jew jokes in the context of the Holocaust. It's not very funny. Or making, or fat shaming, especially when you're morbidly obese. Or misogynistic claims, or racial claims. Not cool. This is not about cancel culture, just we've evolved morally. We no longer accept this. You don't say these things when you go to work in the office anymore, because you know that you'll pay social consequences. So you can claim that you have a right to an opinion. We live in a free society. You have the right to be a bigoted pig. And I'm happy to live in a world where you have the right to be a bigoted pig, but you're going to have to pay social consequences for being a bigoted pig, and you're going to get shunned, and you're going to get ostracized, and you're going to lose opportunities, and there will be a cost to it. So I want to live in a world where you can say it, and I don't want you to go to jail for being a bigot, but you're going to have to pay social consequences because we evolve and we get better, and now we don't allow that stuff anymore. So I don't need to engage in a he said, she said, because that was his voice, and it's out there, and he admitted it, and he knows it was wrong, and he attempted to apologize. So what was the second batch of information that came forward? Josh is a serial plagiarist. Straight up evidence that Josh is a serial plagiarist. Okay, well, I'm an academic. In my earlier incarnation, I worked at the United Nations. I have a couple master's degrees. I had to do very serious, highly technical, original literature. And I had to cite the fuck out of that stuff. I had to reference every line. I had to have a footnote on everything. I follow the rules of honest original literature so that I don't steal someone else's work. I don't claim to have ideas that did not come from my brain because that's disgusting. That's rude. That's dishonest. I would never plagiarize. I come from a world where plagiarism is very bad. Maybe in this space, it's no big deal if you fucking steal Shakespeare or Homer's work and claim that you're just a frickin' amazing poet on your channel and there's not a goddamn person in the room that realizes, hey, that's fucking the Iliad and the Odyssey verbatim. That's a fucking Midnight Summer's Dream verbatim. Wow, you're a fucking poet. Or you're a fucking plagiarist, motherfucker. And you're stealing someone else's hard work and claiming to write original content that you didn't. Well, I take great offense to that. I've been writing original essays for 10 years for free on science and philosophy on my Facebook forum, and I write them off the top of my head. I don't have to worry about plagiarizing because these are my own ideas. These are things that I've synthesized over decades and decades and decades of reading. I don't need to go steal someone else's shit. This is my stuff. So when some other asshole goes up there and he's making money, I did it for free. I volunteered. None of my essays have ever been monetized. I do it to educate people, and people appreciate it. And it's my work. But you're up there stealing people's work straight out of an article out of the New Yorker, or straight out of the Atlantic, or straight out of Axios, or whatever the heck it was. And apparently there are 20 of them. But we have evidence of that. I don't need to engage in he said, she said. It has nothing to do with who figured that out. That's on you, Josh. You're a plagiarist. You're a serial plagiarist up there. You're a fraud. You're up there pretending to be a documentarian. You're pretending to be creating original content. You're putting your name next to text that's 100% verbatim. And it's obvious when you read it because you can't read it. You don't understand where the emphasis goes. It's clear that you didn't write that. You didn't have those thoughts. You don't have that vocabulary. And you're making money off it. And you're lying to your audience. And you're stealing someone else's hard work. And you're making money off it. That's disgusting. And maybe some people don't think that plagiarism is bad. It's really bad. It's about one of the most dishonest things you can do. We should take it seriously. In this space, people should credit their sources. That's a major red flag in my intellectual world, in my critical thinking world. You're up there spewing stuff that sounds like you got it somewhere else, and you're not willing to put a link in the description. You're accusing people of things and showing stuff on screen that accuses people of being guilty of heinous crimes, and you're not willing to share the links with us so we can go off as independent thinkers and try to corroborate that on our own. That's a red flag, my friends. You should not trust people that do that sort of thing. So, I'm not engaging in he said, she said, because he admitted it. He wrote, and I'll show you, he wrote on his community post a couple days ago, from now on, I will source everything I use. You deserve better. I need to be better about that. He owns it. He admits it. He knows he's guilty of being a serial plagiarist. I don't need to engage in he said, she said. It doesn't matter who figured that out. He knows it. He's owning it. He's a serial plagiarist. He's a fraud. He's been up there for years claiming that he's doing original things and creating, original ideas, and he's a documentarian and all these things. And another little trick he does. Apparently every few months he says, goodbye everyone. I got this, big gig. I'm moving up in the world, got some new big deal coming. So I'll be leaving in a few months, but I won't forget you little people. But I'm moving on up. And then all of this is a lie. It's all a ploy. It's all to get sympathy and for his loyal followers to beg him to stay, throw him super chats to encourage him to stay among the hoi polloi and the plebs and the little people, and for him not to accept his new big deal. And we have evidence, very compelling evidence, in his own words, that he claimed that he was being accepted for this big writing job on a show, and he was going to be interviewed by 15 people. And He's going to be a writer on a big show. Well, as a professional and an academic, um, I know this guy's full of shit. He doesn't have a resume. He doesn't have a portfolio. He doesn't have any experience as a professional writer. There's no way. I come from LA. Tons of my friends are in the industry. No way in hell this guy's getting, interviewed by 15 screenwriters for a big show, for a full-time job to write on a big hit show. These are lies. And we have him now, we know, on audio, because it's been dumped, admitting that that was all fake. And it's sad because he admits that he's a fraud. He says, I told you that story so you'd think I was important, that I was somebody. That's sad. That's sad, Josh. You admitted that. You admitted that you lied to try to impress somebody, but that it was a lie. You fabricated it. There was no interview. You didn't have the job. Because I know you don't have the credentials for that. You're a fraud, Josh. And you admitted it, and it's on audio in your own words. I'm not engaging in he said, she said. I don't have to refer to the source. We do not have to discuss the source. We do not have to badmouth the source or even vet the source. All that needs to be acknowledged is that those are your words, and you said them. You're a fraud, Josh, and you're a serial liar, Josh. Somebody dumped this, and you admitted the entire conversation that you'd lied about everything. Everything, Josh. You admitted that you lied about all of it. So you're a fraud, Josh. You're not who you say you are. And you're afraid that people won't like you if you show who you really are. And that's sad, Josh. Everybody's worthy. Even people that are not fancy screenwriters or celebrities or big stars. We can still be loved. We can be good people. We can be honest. We can be moral. We can find people who love us. I'm sure that the real Josh, hiding behind that screen in the dark, profiling his head because he's too afraid to show the rest of his body, but out there saying he won't fuck fat chicks. I'm sure there's a guy back there who's probably not a bad guy. I saw some moments. I thought there was a little thing that you looked like a guy I could have a beer with somewhere. We could talk about sports or, have an interesting chat about writing or true crime or something. But you're a fraud and you're harming people. You're lying to people. You're misinforming your followers. They're giving you money, and you're a fraud. You're stealing other people's work. You are supporting Chris McDonough to this day, and defaming innocent people who've already been exonerated by the Supreme Court of the United States. When you get criticized, you lie and use every form of logical fallacy and distraction and obfuscation because you have no defense and you can't simply own it. But I don't need to engage in he said, she said. You've admitted it. This is in your own words. This is you. This is who you are. But you are not going to own it, and you showed your true colors on your community post today, and we're going to analyze that in a minute. But before we get to that, you engaged in something worse, which came out today, and which I want to be careful about. But I don't need to engage in he said, she said, because it's in your own words, Josh. It came out. I didn't want to put it out because I wanted to protect people. But it came out. However it came out. And all you scumbags, yes, I'm talking to you, Tiffany Marie, and the other people trying to claim that somebody in particular leaked it, the person who had the information. You have no evidence of that. But scumbags, you guys are already starting to spin your yarn to try to defend the perp, to go after the victim, because that's what you always do. So it's already starting. I already saw the screenshots. Tiffany Marie doing what she does, spinning yarn. I know that she leaked it. She leaked it. She's the one that leaked it. So fucking what? Even if she did. I could concede all of the criticism. But what the hell does that have to do with Josh? This is about Josh. You want to talk about other people making mistakes and other people not being perfect? We can talk about other people being imperfect. But we're not talking about other people. It has nothing to do with the source of this information because I'm not engaging in he said, she said. You said it yourself, Josh. You conceded to the racial and bigoted comments and you apologized and said you'd do better. That's good. But because you got caught, that's why you said it. It was a half-assed apology. And then you got busted for plagiarism and you admitted it. And now you said you need to do better. That's good. We're making progress. And it seems like actually you getting caught being full of shit and being a fraud maybe will make you a better person because now, we got eyes on you. You got busted. Um, and so maybe you're going to think twice before you grab an article from 3 years ago on the internet and then claim that this is your original content. You came up with this on because you have this, your channel is the lab. The lab is where we create stuff. We invent stuff. I invent stuff in my mind. My mind is creative and unique, and I write original content. No, you don't. You just don't. You read shit and you make shit up. Okay? You're not a bad storyteller, but I'll show from the community post you say you're not a drama channel. Well, that's funny, Josh, because your best skill is acting. You're not a bad actor. You're a rather good actor. You can do that thing. I'm not even very good at that. You can get really passionate and emotional, and then you can get sad and maybe even cry and make people feel sorry for you. You're not a bad actor. So don't say your channel isn't a drama channel. That is the only thing that your channel is. That channel is just you acting. You're an actor. You play a part, and it's not who you are. The claims you make about yourself are fictitious. You are a fictitious character. You are an actor playing a part on your channel, on your stage, hiding your head, hiding everything below your chin, in the dark, below your cam. So I will show the comment on your community post where you said that you are not a drama channel. That is what the lab is. You are an actor, and you're not bad at it. You should stick with it. And you might want to then eventually admit that you're an actor and that you're playing a part. And then maybe your audience would love to get to know the real Josh. Maybe you can come out from that dark room and show who you really are and find out that maybe people will actually love you and find you interesting and worthy and creative if you show them who you really are. But that's not what you're doing now. You're lying to them, Josh. You're a fraud. And you're taking their money. And you're pretending to be something you're not. And you're harming people. And you're going along for the ride accusing innocent people that have been psychologically tortured by an ex-super cop. And you're defending him. You're redefaming these people. You didn't have anything to say about Jamie Wilson, who your sidekick, your daddy, your sugar daddy, Mr. Phish McDonish. You didn't have any compassion for Jamie Wilson, who that motherfucker defamed and almost got killed, along with his family. You didn't have anything to say to that motherfucker when he defamed AK Rocks. You said, "Who's this AK Rocks idiot? Get him out of my chat room." You never had any compassion for them. You didn't have any compassion for Nomadic Trek. You didn't have any compassion for Jamie Wilson. You didn't have any compassion for Trisha. You didn't have any compassion for, who am I missing? AK Rocks, Jamie Wilson, Nomadic Trek, Trisha. You didn't have any compassion for the Michael Crow boys. They all got exonerated. He violated their civil rights. The judge said they were psychologically tortured. If you watch that video and you're not nauseous, you don't find that revolting, what's wrong with your moral calibration? Are you simply, you don't care about any of these people because your sugar daddy, making sure that your sugar daddy still loves you, that's all that's important to you. probably you you've never had anyone of the stature of Chris McDonough give you the time of day. Is that what's going on here? Is that why you'll die on the hill to defend him? I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, Josh, but Chris McDonough would have nothing to do with you in public. He wouldn't be seen in public with his colleagues, with you around. He would consider you a drag. He would consider Doug Hutton a drag. Doug Hutton's got Nazi tattoos on his calves. And this ex-cop, claiming to be fighting for women's rights and children's rights, is hanging around with a career criminal with Nazi tattoos. And you were his partner. And I tried to warn you, tried to say don't hang out with these people, but you did. So what are your motives here? What hold does Sugar Daddy have over you? Why don't you have any compassion for all of his victims, the 9 families and counting? Why do you stump for him? Why are you willing to lie for him? Why won't you own up to the fact that you're a fraud on your channel? And now, the worst part, you engaged in an online romance scam, and you romance someone out of $7,500. And there's every reason to believe, by your own words, you admitted it. This isn't he said, she said. You owned it. You admitted it. You lied. And you were willing to use your grandmother's illnesses and your dog and your kid's party and a fake stolen computer and a whole bunch of other things, and you admitted that you lied about all of it. And you told a person that you loved her in order to get money from her. And you got $7,500. And you don't like being called a scammer, but that's illegal. You can actually get 20 to 30 years in prison for that. And I don't need to engage in he said, she said in this exercise, because you said it. Now, there's only 2 ways for you to deny what you said. And that's that you were somehow kidnapped or coerced or under duress, and what you were saying in that conversation was not real, that you were being coerced, somebody had a knife to your back, or that somebody somehow selectively edited and created a very sophisticated 2-hour conversation with you on it, crying, lying, repeatedly lying, and then conceding each and every lie, one after another. You conceded the entire thing. You used somebody who you knew would be sensitive to your pity plays. You played on all her heartstrings, and you got $7,500 from her. And had she not figured it out earlier, you'd have gotten another 7,000. And you use the lowest tactics. Tell them somebody you love them for money, and using them. And you lied. You had another girlfriend. You lied about that, and said you didn't. And then you admitted that you lied about that. You lied about everything, and you admitted that you lied about everything. And I don't have to engage in he said, she said, because you said it all. But that was a bridge too far, Josh. When that was dumped today, that you don't feel like you can easily excuse away. You were able to try to do some damage control for the racist shit. You got away with that. You're not going to lose any fans for that. And you were willing to own it. I actually think your fans loved you more because it was a half-ass excuse. Said, it wasn't good of me. I apologize. Nobody's perfect. And I want to be a better man. And everybody went, oh, yay, Josh, we love you. Look at it. This is why we love you, because, you're willing to admit when you make a mistake. Yay, Josh. You didn't lose probably a single fan. And then you got called out for plagiarism. And then you went, oops, I'm going to have to own that one now. A bit more damage control. Hey, everyone, I need to do better. I'm going to start using sources. Great. Maybe it's progress. Maybe you'll never make another racial bigoted comment again because you're afraid, you don't want to get caught out again. Maybe you'll never engage in plagiarism anymore because people are watching you. But now now you're in a pickle. That you were willing to do damage control and own the first few drops, but then the big drop came out, Josh, and you're not going to own that because it's a bad one. It's really bad, like really, really bad. It's illegal. Look it up. It's legislation on the books. You can pretend to like someone on the internet, and that's allowed. But what you can't do is pretend to like someone and then in the internet in an effort to get money from them. That's illegal, and it's very serious crime. Now, you're going to, because you can't own this, now you need to spin the yarn. And now all your people have to spin the yarn. And they have to go after the source. Because this one is a bridge too far. You're not a big enough man to own this one. So now you have to lash out. This is when, this is where you see the putrid sausage in the ghetto get made. And I'm going to take a tiny break, take a look at chat. Excuse me for not following chat, but I didn't want to lose my train of thought. So I'm going to take a break, have a drink, might even, no, I think I have enough. And then I'm going to show his pathetic community post from today. So I hope I've made the case so far. I have a little bit more to go, but I decided to not use props today. I wasn't going to use the evidence. It's out there. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't want this case. It has been dumped. I have reason to believe that it was dumped by somebody who shouldn't have. They dumped it even though it was in confidence, and they were asked, like me, not to share it. I mean, I had been given basically authority had I wanted to, but I chose to not have the case. But somebody else must have had it, and they released it, and they're going to claim that the original person had it, and I can't adjudicate on that. I don't know how it came out there, but now that it's out there, I had nothing to do with that. That's now public, and I want to say to all of you scumbags out there that are going to defend the perp and attack the victim, come at me. Don't go after the victim. I don't have to do he said, she said. I'm making the arguments. It's out there. Come after me. Leave her alone. Leave these people alone. And if Josh, you want to sue her, if you want to claim that there was a breach in terms of the audio, sue her. Try to sue her. If you believe you have a case, try it. But as for, because this has nothing to do with, but beyond that, this is about you, Josh. You're a fraud. You're a serial plagiarist. You're a romance scammer. You're a liar. I'm making those arguments, and I don't have to engage in he said, she said. This is about you. Everything else is something else. I don't have to speculate. You admitted it. You acknowledged it. And I heard it. And it's out there. And now you guys, like you all of you true crime bad actors do, you're like the mafia. Now you have to silence people. That's why people don't come forward. That's why bad guys get away sometimes, because eyewitnesses won't come forward because they're afraid to get killed. They're afraid to get threatened in real life. You guys are mafia people. You're going to fucking try to silence people because they fucking outed you and showed you for who you are. And you're not big enough to own it and apologize and change. You have to attack and discredit. That's the only thing you guys know how to do. You have to completely discredit the argument. But as I said, I don't have to engage in he said, she said. This is not open to debate. You said these things. You did these things. This is not opinion. And you owned the first two. You owned the racist shit. You owned the plagiarism. But this one, this is a bridge too far for you, Joshy. So now you need to start lying. Now you need to lash out. Now you need to discredit the source because you're not willing to own up to the facts here. So, and we're going to go take a look at your community post today to show, again, how dishonest you are. I mean, again, you're a fraud. You're a serial liar. That's what you do. Your channel is an acting stage. That's all that you. It's your only skill. So I think what I'm going to do tonight, since I engage in these long streams because I like to talk with you guys after, we're only at the 2 hour mark, so I'm going to do my final analysis of his community post today, and then I'm going to end this stream so that this stream stays up, and then I might begin a second stream for anybody that wants to come back, have a Q&A, discuss the details. I was hoping to have a few friends come up. I was expecting to have just the receipts and possibly Platy so that we could go back over the details. Insightful, you're still in the room, so I wouldn't mind you helping me with some of the help my memory. I have a bad memory on some of the details of the lies that they fabricated and misrepresented Trisha. I mean, in my video, I covered it, and I remember criticizing, and I remember calling him out when he dirty deleted on my channel. We called him on all the lies that he accused Trisha of. So, but I might want to ask you if you want to come up and help me remember the specifics to make sure that everybody's informed as to how he misrepresented Trisha and how they tried to smear her, despite the fact that what she was doing was the right thing to do. So okay, so let me. Yeah, Wolf Girl, I described it all, and I have it in my videos, and you guys can always ask me. It's in the Bad Actor series. The AK Rocks video I recommend in the context of Josh, and also I did a video on legal revisionism from Doug Hutton and Chris McDonough, and even if that one's not about Josh, Josh did the exact same thing as Doug for the same reasons, because McDonough put them up to trying to exonerate him in the Michael Crow case, and then he wanted to also change the legal narrative and engage in more legal revisionism on the West Memphis 3 case, which I'm not as up to speed on. So let me see. I believe I have the screenshot, so I think I'll do that one. Bear with me for a sec. Yeah, here we go. So let me share this, because this is ultimately where I think we'll conclude in terms of the just utter dishonesty. You're going to see every logical fallacy and effort to distract and obfuscate, change the focus, and go after the source instead of owning up to it. So we know that he. Let me see if you. I don't know if you guys can see that. Tell me if you can't see it, and I'll zoom in. Otherwise, I'll read it for you. I mean, maybe I should read it. I should probably read it, right? Give me one if you want me to read it. It's a bit long, and I'd have to zoom into each area. If you want me to read it, I'll read it. Because I'd like to dissect it almost sentence by sentence, because it's so obviously dishonest, packed with every logical fallacy and effort to distract from his own involvement. Okay, I'll read it. Okay, so as you can see, he posted this, I think, earlier today after the videos came out exposing what he had done. So he says, for the last 4 months, I have been harassed and cyber-stalked. A certain person who has peddled her story to anybody that will listen, claiming to be a victim of something I had done to them that wasn't true. Okay, that's a lie. All of that is a lie. It's shown in great detail in the underlying information that clearly none of it was a lie. Josh is caught with his pants down, romancing someone, telling her he loved her, seducing her in order to get pity, making up stories in order to get pity, likely presuming that she had money and that she was going to help him out. I'm pretty sure he goes as far as saying he knew she was going to give him the money. She was playing on all sorts of pity pleas and lied about all of them and admitted that all of the requests that he made for money, he just said, like, my grandmother's sick and, I need this money and I don't have the money. And then, my dog's sick and I need the money. And I don't know, my computer is stolen and I need the money. And then I had to buy $10,000 worth of marijuana because I need some money and blah, blah. And somebody got duped and they gave him money. And so all of that is a lie. He's just, this is a bridge too far. He doesn't want to own the scam. And if you listen, he clearly does not. That was the one that scared him. The scam scared him because he doesn't want to see himself as a scammer, but he was a scammer and he accepted the money. And his argument was, I was always going to pay you back. Sorry, you got the money under false pretenses. Therefore, it's a scam. You didn't say, I could use some money. Would you lend me some money? And I'll write you up a contract with repayment terms and I'll pay you back on these terms. No, you got the money under false pretenses. And then when you got called out, then you got scared because she was going to call Chris McDonough. She was going to expose you. And you were possibly worried about a lawsuit or even criminal liability. And somehow you paid her back. And so you're going to use that in a second. But let me give you an example. If you go to a bank and you lie about your credit score, or you lie about the reason that you want the loan, or you lie about anything on the contract, everything you're signing about, you have to be fully honest and transparent about your profile and the reasons you need the money. And if you get a loan from the bank and they find out that you lied on that loan application, the fact that you paid them back makes it no less illegal, my friend. That is bank fraud. That is illegal. Now, you can argue, but hey, I'm going to pay you back. And in this case, he did after he got scared. In all cases, he conceded because he was caught. And he was caught in this too. And so he's going to try to use the fact that he paid her back to attempt to completely exonerate her and then to completely discount this whole story as a big lie and about an unstable person who was stalking him. Because, just, he admits everything. I mean, the whole point was that he admitted all of his lies. And now he's going to weave a new set of lies because he realizes this is a bridge too far. So, a certain person who has peddled her story to anybody that will listen. Here's his storytelling. This is where he's not a bad storyteller. A certain person who has peddled her story to anybody that will listen, claiming to be a victim of something I had done to them that wasn't true. Lie. This is the person behind the grab. True. But the first part was a lie. This person is unstable, manipulative, and a liar. You are the liar. You admit the entire conversation that you lied about every single thing, and you have the gall to now claim that this is all a fabrication. This is just somebody who is vindictive, who is trying to go after you, and this is going to be the narrative for the rest of the story. I'm talking 30, 40 phone calls in one day from a blocked number that I was able to track and prove who it was. I will not sit in silence while somebody who I wanted nothing to do with because of psychotic behavior tries to exploit me. That you wanted nothing to do with. You pursued her. You said you liked her. You told her you loved her. Even after you admitted to all your lies. You said you wanted to remain friends with her. None of this jibes with your own words, Josh. I don't have to engage in he said, she said. It comes out of your own mouth. This person originally reached out to me because they were having a difficult time in life and wanted advice. And you fed on that difficult time in her life in order to get $7,500 from her. It's illegal, Josh. It's a crime. Now, notice this little point. I owe this person no money. I know I owe nobody any money. True. Fact. And you know why? Because you were threatened that if you didn't pay her back because she found out and figured out that you were a liar, and you admitted a liar, and you admitted that you used her, and you admitted that you lied every time she gave you money, then when she threatened to call Chris McDonough and out you, and you were afraid possibly for legal liability and your reputation and that you were going to be exposed, you somehow came up with that money and paid her back. So it's true. You owe this person no money. And I'm glad that you paid it back. But you trying to add this line as if it exonerates you is very telling of how dishonest you are. You had to pay that money back. You were afraid to not pay that money back because you know that you had scammed that money. You took that money from a vulnerable person and you lied to get it. While you were having another affair with another girl that you lied to her about. This is romance scam. It's illegal. It's a serious crime. I've never scammed somebody and I never will. That goes against all of the evidence we have. Plagiarism is a scam. You scammed your damn channel by plagiarizing, claiming that the content was yours, and getting super chats and memberships and any other money you were getting. You were scamming them the whole time. You've been scamming them the whole time. You lying bastard. There are two sides to every story, not just the liars. You are the liar. There's no he said, she said. You admitted in all of this that you were a liar. Your plagiarism was a lie. You acknowledged it in your own words. And I'll show that scene again. But you are the liar. Yes, you're trying to use the old he said, she said, which is why I've continued this entire conversation to say, I don't need to play he said, she said, and there are two sides to every story to make my case tonight, Josh, because you've admitted it. It's in your own words. You've said it. You made an apology video. You made another comment today that said you acknowledge your plagiarism and you're never going to do it again. You are continuing to lie, showing clearly no remorse. There's no reason to believe that you've learned anything from this ordeal. This entire apologetic is despicable, and it shows your true character. You are a fraud. That being said, any conversation that I have had with anybody that was recorded without my consent, altered or not, is in the state of California considered wiretapping. So, you may have a case there, my friend. Sue her if you have a case. From what I understand, you also claimed to have been recording, and you then were okay with it based on your ongoing conversations. And I bet that if a lawyer got a look and a listen to this audio, your case would fall flat, and you don't have a strong case. But try it. Go for it. But everything else is something else, Josh. It's out there. Whether or not you can sue her is a different topic. Whether or not she should have done it is a different topic. But we're not talking about anybody else, Josh. We're talking about you. This is about you. You're a fraud. You're a liar. In all my life, I've never seen such toxic humans willing to take any little piece of nonsense and try to make it their business to ruin me. Any little piece of nonsense. Racism, plagiarism, and getting $7,500 from somebody while lying to them. That's for you a little piece of nonsense, huh, Josh? You're a serial plagiarist. You frickin' engaged in disgusting, despicable language on your shock jock show. You extorted. You got $7,500 from somebody under false pretenses. Told them that you loved them. Engaged in lie after lie, willing to appeal to us, your sick grandmother, your dog. How are you not embarrassed? I mean, I think you should close your channel. I'd be embarrassed. I'd have my tail between my legs and I'd walk away. I'd say, sorry, everyone. I need some time off to reconsider my choices in life. I'm a fraud. I've been lying to all of you. And you should have lost all respect for me. Everything I've been telling you is false this whole time. I am not who I claim to be. But you won't, because your YouTube channel is the height of your existence, Josh. Might be the best you'll ever have. You're respected. You got 13,000 loyal people, and walking away from this is just too much for you because it's probably all you have, and that's sad. But that's why you can't own it, and that's why you wrote this, because this was a bridge too far. You can't own up to what you did. The first thing, okay, I'll own it. I'm sorry. Sort of. The second thing, I owe you guys more. I'll stop being a serial plagiarist. But this, you can't own up to this. You're not a big enough man, because it exposes you as a total fraud and how much you've been lying to all your followers. So in all my life, I've never seen such toxic humans willing to take any little piece of nonsense and try to make it their business to ruin me. I very much doubt that anybody began to ruin you. On the contrary, it sounded like they tried to help you, but you used them and took their money. And then when you got called out, now, unfortunately, you're pissed and you need to lash out, and you need to try to spin this to try to blame the other person, because you can't own it, because you're not a big enough man. You will never ruin me. I was ruined in a child by real life situations. Mock that all you want, like this person has. She once told me that I used my deceased mother to manipulate people. Okay, now playing again the victim card. From what I understand, you used a very similar argument to try to turn her grief on her and blame it against her. Uh, I can't confirm that. So I'll give you that one. Anybody mocking you for what happened to you as a child, that's wrong. I condemn that. That's not nice. I will give you the benefit of the doubt that your story of your childhood trauma is true. I mean, I'm not sure I should give you that benefit because you pretty much lied about everything else, but I'm not going to go there. Um, I'm going to acknowledge your childhood trauma. It was horrific based on the story, and anybody mocking you for that, that should be condemned. That's disgusting. So if that happened, I would agree with you on that point. But that has nothing to do with any of this, Josh. That doesn't make up for everything you've done. You didn't do all of these things because somebody said something mean about you. You did all of those things of your own free accord because you were using somebody, because you wanted to get some money from somebody. So this is obfuscation. This is whataboutism. It's a red herring. You're trying to change the subject. Call me what you want, but a bully is not one of them. Yes, this is bullying. Your crowd is bullying her. From what I understand, you put her address out. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't confirm that. If I'm wrong, I'll retract it. But uh, your crowd is going to attack, like McDonough did when he went after Nomadic Trek, like Ryan Upchurch does when we call him out for being a serial liar and bullshitter like you. You're a bully. You frickin' were bullying Nomadic Trek. You bullied AK Rocks. You didn't have any words of compassion for Jamie Wilson. You bullied Trisha because you were wrong. All to defend King Bully, Mr. McDonough, who's now terrorized 9 innocent families, as far as I can count. You're a bully, Josh, but I think you're a coward. Bring it, bro. I'm your Huckleberry. And you're not going to like this too much. Oh well, own it. I don't have to engage in he said, she said. These are your words. These are your behaviors. You've already owned them, except for this. You can't own this one, so now you're spinning yarn. This is all a story. And I'm sure your followers are going to eat it all up, but you're a liar. You're just straight up liar. If you choose to believe this, you are more than welcome to move on from my channel. To the people who support me, I'll always be appreciative of you. The people that know me, my family and loved ones know who I am. It's too bad you don't show. I hope you show your loved ones, your close loved ones, who you really are, because you clearly don't show the people on YouTube who you really are, and that's made apparent with each and every gesture that you make that gets exposed. And the final sentence. Also, this is not a trauma channel, so if you like that stuff, you can bounce as well. As I said before, that is all your channel is, Josh. You are an actor. You play a part. It is not you. Down to the hiding in the dark room with your head strategically placed so that none of your body can be shown. Because you don't want that to happen, Josh. You're afraid that who you really are would be exposed if you turn the lights on and you stood up. You're afraid that nobody would like you, Josh, if people saw you in the light of day and you weren't lying and you had to tell them who you really are. And that's sad, Josh. So I hope, although there's no reason to believe, that you would learn a lesson and that you would talk to somebody and find out why you cannot be honest with who you really are, and stop hurting people and stop lying about people and stop pretending to be somebody you're not, because you're a liar, you're a serial plagiarist, and you're a fraud. And I think I will end on that note for the moment. Indeed, Patricia, that is not an argument. That is a pity play. That does not defend his behavior. It's trying to put it all off on somebody else because he can't own it. He didn't own a damn thing. And it's all out there now. I don't need to engage in he said, she said in this case. He's admitted it. We have his own words. And I'll keep this stream up for a few minutes if you have any questions relating to this. Otherwise, then I will cut this one down, leave this video on its own, and if you want to join me on another stream. So throw up a 1 if you'd like to hang out, ask more questions, come up on panel, discuss some other topics, and get into any more detail that I'm not aware of or that I forgot. Or drop me a 2 and say, go make yourself some chicken fajitas and we'll talk another time. Thank you, Tricia. Very kind of you. I hope you felt I did it justice. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Andrea. I'll eat a bit later. Okay, so I'm going to say Brain and Yvette signing off, and I'm literally going to get... Thank you, Tricia. You have a nice evening. I look forward to talking with you Thursday. Wish me luck. I have a big interview scheduled on Wednesday for a really big job. But thanks for coming in, having a listen. So I am going to end this here. Thanks for coming. Thanks to the mods for helping out. Thanks for keeping a tight ship. I hope it went okay in the in the room, and I'm going to end the stream, and then I will start another one, and I will see you quite shortly. I think I'll just refresh my cocktail. Bye for now.